And we are live, but this is take two. Hopefully, this one has audio because the last time I tried this, it the audio didn't seem to work. So I think I figured something out. So we're gonna give this a go. Hi, my name is Dan Letha, cartoonist, and this is Sunday, and we're gonna do a little Sunday giraffe drawing doodle. And take two. So thanks to my friend from Canada for letting me know that my audio didn't work on the first try. So we're gonna give this a go again, and I think this should be better. So um, again, I'm drawing a giraffe. I love giraffes. They have a great shaped head, and so what's the shape of the giraffe's head? Um, well, let's doodle on this giraffe here a little bit. It's a triangle. So we're gonna all right. I forgot confirmation that my I can be heard. I think I figured the problem out. It was how I had this set up. Today I'm not using my camera, so I didn't pay attention to that particular setting, and I think there was something in that setting that had my microphone in it. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Striker, for doing that for me. All right. Drawing the giraffe. We determined it's a triangle. So let's um let's let's start drawing a triangle. And their face, their nose goes down, and then they've got this like little type area on the end that that's kind of fun. And then on top of that, they've got these eyeballs that point that they've got like this section that pokes out. So got the nose coming down, and then we'll just draw they got these like droopy eyelid type things going on. So drafts are just full of fun stuff to caricature. And as I was saying before on my first attempt at this broadcast, um, I may draw this once, I may draw this a number of times, we'll see. And you can ask questions if you're joining, and I'll just kind of chat whatever comes to mind. Big giraffe eyes. One funny thing that you can't see about the giraffe, with its mouth closed anyway, is when they eat, they've got these super long tongues. I think their neck is long. They've got long tongues. And they also use them to eat from really thorny bushes, which is pretty wild. And let's see. I think we're gonna run out of space here up on top. These horn antler, I don't know the exact term for those things, but they do tend to use them in their, I think they call it necking when they fight. They use their necks. So I like to just kind of doodle around and just loosely get a sketch feel for the creature, and then I'll ink over the top of that. So, and I use Photoshop a lot. And I tend to sketch in blue or red. Let's move that down a little bit. In fact, I'm going to shrink my sketch just a little bit so I can give myself some more room. Oh, come on. There we go. And I don't know. If I used black, maybe it would feel too committed, and I want to just be loose and free, and so I think that's got the structure of it pretty well. As I was saying before in my earlier attempt at this broadcast, um, we've been busy here at the Letha household. My wife and I have a daughter, and she's getting married. So, in fact, my wife is over at my daughter's new place, getting the wedding plans and stuff all in shape because it's coming soon. The other fun thing about the giraffe is they've got these shapes, these spots, these things on there. They're very they're very narrative as far as the shape of the giraffe goes. They tell the shape of the neck, and that makes those rectangle and shapes things on the face and so cool. It's kind of like the skin of a reptile on a snake or lizard or whatever. That constant texture wrapped around the form of the creature lets you know the shape of it. When I was in art school, my one of my teachers that taught us human anatomy, figure drawing type stuff, he would talk about what's the reason for a superhero's costume. And a lot of us, were like, "Oh, it's so cool looking," and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, that's part of it. But the costume is to show off the shape of the superhero's, body, the musculature and all that. So those design features on the costume aren't just there to look cool. It's to make that superhero look super. And so that's the reason. So that's what those shapes on the giraffe's neck make it look like, or make it look super, but they tell you what the shape is. So I'm going to ink over the top of my sketch there. That would be my pencils. Now I'm going to go to my black and make my ink pen a little bit bigger. Oh, let's see here. I don't know where to start. I should start by making another layer. That's what I should do. There we go. Get that droopy eyelid. I've bulged out that eye a little bit more because, again, this is a caricature of a giraffe. We'll worry about the color of the eye a little bit later. And you got that big, bulgy eye shape. They're almost caricatures all by themselves without caricaturing them. So when I've drawn live caricatures before, there's some people that will come up to you and say, "Will you draw my caricature?" And as a caricature artist, you just go, "Yes." So that's kind of that's the giraffe. He's got this really wild face that just says draw me. And you'll notice the line thickness of my lines there changes. That's a pressure thing. And if you're not used to it, it can kind of, there's a bit of a learning curve to it, but once you get that down, you love it. Used to do calligraphy when I was a kid. Got my speedball pens and would practice lettering. And I don't do that much anymore because now we have fonts and stuff. And in fact, I was just redesigning my daughter's wedding invitation. She had designed it, and all I had to do was recreate it so that I could change the proportions of it, and then upload it to a particular store's website for them to print. Um, but in doing so, I couldn't find all the fonts that she had used, so I had to hand letter some of the lettering on it because I couldn't find the font. So it reminded me of my old days when I had a font catalog that you could buy these sheets with letters on them, and you would press the letters onto the surface of whatever you wanted them on, like a comic strip or something. Letraset, I think. And I used to have the catalog for that stuff, and instead of instead of buying the material because it's pretty expensive, I would copy the fonts and use that as my font guide. So I hand lettered a lot of that stuff back in the old days. And you might think, well, it's kind of waste of time. Well, I think it's paid off in that I uh, I gained some skills from that, and it also was a very good exercise for dexterity and being able to look at fonts. And now I will tell you, and I tell my coworkers this from time to time, that I'm not a graphic art type of person that does, layouts and logos and a lot of the a lot of the stuff that more everyday company type, you know, type of thing that they need, for font designs and all that sort of stuff. I'm not really into that. I like the illustration part. But um, doing that font stuff that I did in my early days was a benefit anyway, even though I really don't use that aspect of it anymore. All right. I'm gonna go back to sketching a little bit. I want to sketch in the shapes of the pattern on the giraffe. So to do that, let's pick a little different color. Oh, let's use blue. So to do this, I'm going to make myself some guidelines because you don't want to just start drawing on squares. These shapes wrap around the giraffe's form. And so those need to be true to the shapes that are underneath it. You can't just lay in flat squares because that'll destroy the shape of the giraffe. So again, this I was talking about the lizards, reptiles earlier. That's what the scales do for the when you look at a reptile. That they're just so mesmerizing looking as far as like the shapes go, because they've got this so well defined form because of the scales, the texture of the scales. All right, so and I wouldn't necessarily have to like copy what I see on the photograph. Use that as a guide for sure. And then I'll make my shapes, the permanent ones, based on these ones that I'm just kind of sketching in. If you've ever seen a piece of artwork of someone wearing like a flannel shirt or something, there are times where, um, depending upon the style of artwork, that they will lay in a flat, like a flat design, a pattern on someone wearing a shirt or something like that. That it kind of works for that artwork, but they're not so concerned about the depth, the look of the 3D-ness of the artwork. All right. So I think that's got most of it. Like that. So, and they've got a little blank patch underneath the. So, what do you think so far? Is he cute? Um. All right. What I'm going to do now is color in the shape. So I take the select tool, which is the lasso, and then underneath everything that I've drawn so far, I'm going to just trace along the side the outline of the giraffe, and that will end up with a shape that I will fill underneath the ink layer that I've done. And then I'll just color that in. As I'm doing this, I have to ask or promote my draw it and know it feature that I do for the ministry that I work for, Reasons for Hope. So I haven't done a new draw it and know it for quite a while. And that's just because I've been so busy with everything else that I really haven't had time. And it's one of the main things that I'm supposed to be doing. So I I just produced a new one recently, and I've upgraded some things about it. And I got a new logo and a little music theme and my presentation of how to draw the animal that I show how to draw. Oops. Oh, I think I just there we go. Got down to the bottom of the screen there and I went, "Er." Okay. So I think this is a upgrade. So hopefully it'll be posted here in the next while. I'm not sure exactly when, but I've got one old one to post before this one, and then the new one will look very, very different for those of you that haven't seen it or have seen it before. All right. Now let's go ahead and do selections for. I'm gonna make that go away. Did I do all those in one shape? I did. All right. I want to make those go back. The advantage is a digital illustration. And I'm going to make selections out of as many of those spots, the draft spots, I guess we can call them. Again, using the guidelines that I made earlier. And if I do this correctly, and my computer doesn't glitch, there's a glitch that happens every so often where I'm making a selection. And all of a sudden, it's like it blinks or something, and I lose my spot. And then I got to start over again. So I'm just saying, if that doesn't happen, I can select all of these spots successfully. Coloring them in will be a breeze because all I'll have to do is select my color and pick my fill bucket, tap the screen once, and boom, they'll all be filled. All right. Almost there. Gotta be careful at the bottom of the screen. All right, this is as far as we'll go. I think I've got most of them. And I gotta make sure they're on their own layer underneath the inks. And they're kind of a brown. Well, they are brown. So we'll go like that. And boom. There we go. Now, the cool thing about this is that they're all the same brown. It's all the same thing. Um, but what I can do, shut off the guidelines that I made. I've got some other sketches here that I can shut that off too. Okay, so we've got our giraffe and the color underneath. And if I want to make it more detailed, um, I can. It's not quite yellow. I could make it a little more towards realistic if I wanted to. In fact, let's lighten that up a bit. Cartoon giraffes are yellow. Real life giraffes. This one's kind of like tan and light tan and brown. So I like the yellow though. I'm not going to completely lose that, but go to my airbrush. And let's see how this works. Well, let's give kind of a touch of that more tan feel to the yellow. Ah, I did it again. I tell you. Hello. There we go. Oh man. There we go. Yeah, I got down to the bottom of the screen again. Danger area. Throws everything off. If you hit that, there's those little bars at the bottom where you can slide things around. I keep hitting that area and boom, it moves the whole thing over. Okay, that's a little closer to real. Still has a bit of that yellow feel to it, but I'll make the areas where the are lighter, even lighter. A little more feel for depth. And the sun is coming from the upper right. That's kind of how I usually light things anyway. I suppose I shouldn't be so lazy and try to light things from different directions in practice instead of just having this default. Everything looks the same after a while if you keep lighting everything from the same direction. There we go. And I'm going to save the eyes till last, so that'll give it the character right away. But this bottom of the neck's bugging me, so let's go back to the spots. Oops. All right, we're gonna fill in. Oh, all right, we're gonna fill in the spots some more. Hey, how come that's not selecting? It should be. There we go. Don't hit the thing. Uh, Usually don't have like sharp edges like that too much. Well, I guess they do a little bit. That's better. Select the color and then hit the bucket tool again. And now, oh, let's see. I'm going to go back to the yellow, the main color of the giraffe. And let's color the darker areas again to make the form of the giraffe. In fact, these spots are sort of distracting, so let's make those go away. And what I'm doing here is I want to color the form of the giraffe. Ugh, it looks kind of ugly, that color I picked. Let's make it go a little more brown. That's better. Okay, so see on the nose, the shading there, that light, the light portion is up here, and then the shadow part is right there on that side of the nose, the lip, the upper lip. And so I'm kind of shading the whole giraffe that way. Inside of that ear's darker. We'll come back to that. But the side of the horn has shade on this side. The other one does the same. And then the ear has some shade there. And the whole neck is kind of on the dark side. So now when I go back to the spots, it's gonna be cool because I want to do something that'll help really bring the shape out in the giraffe with those spots. Now you can start to see the shape a little bit, but the giraffe, apart from those spots, is a lighter colored creature, so the lighting isn't so dramatic on it. Okay, but when I add the spots, oh, what layers the spots? Okay, I'm gonna label that spots because I should type in spots. There we go, spot. I'm gonna lock those spots, and so I can't draw anywhere else on the spots, but on the shape of the spots themselves. Okay, so I've selected the color of the spots. Now I'm going to go darker. And then I'm going to shade on those spots where the darker portion would be. Okay, so the shadow on the neck is darker right there, so I'm making that part of those brown spots darker. And yeah, it's not quite the same brown as you see in the photo, but that's okay. It works for the illustration. So I'm making the giraffe have more form just by using the shape of those spots and then making some parts lighter and darker. And it really helps it look like it's wrapping around the giraffe. And then I can do the same with lighter sections of the spots. If I go up a little lighter and then that part, see how much more round that looks now? And give some roundness to that. Those guys up there a little lighter. Maybe there's some light coming from behind too. So that's how that works. I love animals that have some spots on them. It just helps liven them up and give them more shape. All right, I'm gonna do the coloring in the ears, or the shading anyway. So there's some shadow in those ears, and I'm gonna select the shapes. Kind of do that with the line a little bit there. All right, so I'm gonna give them their own layer. I make too many layers sometimes in my artwork. I'll finish a a comic strip or some caricature or whatever it is, and I've usually got, I don't know, upwards be 50 and 100 layers, and I make a layer for every little thing. It's a security blanket for me because if I want to make a change, if you've got it on its own layer, it's super easy. Layers are your friends. Um, but the problem is when you want to find something sometimes, I'm like, oh, which layer was that on? You got to really label them well and keep track of them because it can get out of hand. But layers are great. Um, and then I'm going to give those eyes their own layer too. So make a selection and make that layer. Now these things are dark. They're like dark, dark, dark brown. And label that layer eyes. And we're used to, I guess I could have gone more cartoony and made them, the cartoony eyes that we always see in animals and such, but we'll kind of keep this in the middle where this is caricature, but not not too cartoony. Um, let's see, what else should I do here? Well, there's some more light, like fur texture type things you can do. Um, oh, and then there's one overall thing I could do too. The black line artwork is okay and good, and it could stay like that, and it'd be totally fine. But sometimes to kind of bring it into another level of look, it almost makes it tip a little more towards realistic. Is I can change the color of the line artwork. So I'm thinking about doing that. But right now, we're gonna do some fur detail. And maybe this will help with some of the depth of the draft too. So, um, yeah, what I've got here is a brush that's it's a hard edge, and I've lessened the opacity. So it's at 67%. So I'm drawing solid lines here, but they're transparent. Got them on their own layer. And so what that does is that it adds the texture to the giraffe. But because it's transparent, the line work there kind of conforms to whatever's underneath it as far as light and dark. So it makes it follow the form a little bit more. I want to go back in and shade that upper lip because in the reference it looks really cool. All right. Add more of a detail look there. One caution for doing digital artwork, and I haven't done it so much on this, but if you're doing a regular traditional style of artwork on like a paper or board, real paper, real board, um, in real life, you can't zoom in too far. I suppose you could get out a microphone, a magnifying glass, and you could zoom in that way. But you can only go so far realistically. With a computer, you can zoom in and you can start going to town on an area that no one will ever see. You can spend hours putting detail into something that when it's printed, it'll just disappear. Or if it's artwork that'll go online, maybe the resolution will be dropped so much that it'll just get lost. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm just drawing little lines here. Just happy little fur lines. My I'm gonna call him my boss. He doesn't like that title because he wants to be just a coworker working alongside people, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, he is my boss, Carl Kirby. He he will talk about me sometimes in front of crowds, and he'll call me like a Bob Ross type because I do the draw it know it feature. So I'm telling the kids how to draw the line by line, how to draw animals, and so he kind of has some fun with that. So I don't mind. Every time he says, "I hope Dan doesn't mind," I say this, but it's fine. And if you've never met Carl Kirby, you should. He's a great guy. And then when I get done with this detail, I'm going to do the same with those brown spots, the, the rectangular shapes on the giraffe. So even though this is a digital drawing, one, you can see it's not just me pushing buttons and the computer does stuff. I think it's funny that term, people ask me, did you do this by hand or did you do it on the computer? And my answer to both is yes, because this is done by hand. I've got a stylus in my hand. You can't see it, but um, it's just like drawing on a piece of paper or something, and it's done on the computer. So that's not a either or question. That's both are true. The computer is just a tool. All right, and then the layer, that's the spot layer. We're going to move the layer above that. Again, another layer. and I'll give a little more fur texture to the spots. Go back to my brush. And you can also tell where I was going with this is that even though this is computer art, I think some people's perception of it is, oh, it's on the computer. It should take just boop, just do it and it's done quick. There are some speed advantages for sure, but hey, art takes time. And good art takes time. The classic conflict is everyone wants great art, highly detailed in no time at all. So you've got artists that are constantly telling people, what pick two. Do you want low cost and fast, uh, but poor quality, or do you want high quality? It'll take more time. It'll cost more money. But everyone always wants the art fast, fast and cheap, but they want it excellent and really well done. It's not just artwork, it's everything. Anything that you have to spend time on. The less expensive it is, the more profitable it is. So it's always the follow the money. All right. I think I'll use that to kind of color in some of the ear there too. It's a little darker section. All right. If you've ever seen a giraffe in real life, they're huge and they're really cool animals. Okay. And let's do the eyes because we're coming down to the final stretch here. Now there's spheres. So let's get the color for the eye, and then we're gonna go dark because there's a big part of that eye that's dark. Okay, that's the eye. Wait a minute, that's the eye shape? I labeled that, but I missed. Oh, anyway. And now I want to get my airbrush tool back out. And going to now the light source is coming from up here, but on the other side of that large eye shape, it's kind of in the shadow part. And so it's actually picking up some light from behind. And that one's got the shadow right over there. There's a little light rim light over there. And I'm gonna lighten some of that a little bit. Okay, and then I'm gonna go on another layer, another layer, and we're gonna lighten up or make the. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna zoom in. That's it. Eyes are an important detail. I can get both things in the camera shot here. All right. Okay, so that's the shape for the light. And the airbrush. Now part of that selection is lighter, a lot lighter. I can probably go in and do that on a different stroke. So let's go that far so far. And then lighten that up. And I'm going to go in with the hard brush. I'm going to let it stay at the same opacity. And I want to make another layer, every little piece. You can see there's some more solid reflections on that eye. And then when I zoom in, I couldn't see this before, but another layer. You can see the pupil of the giraffe right there. So let's make that darker. So what am I on? I'm going to go back to the airbrush. It's a subtle thing. Now, you get those marching ant lines there. I can make those go away. Let's see. View. Ah, all right. Extras go away. There we go. They're still there. That area is still selected, but it those lines went away. So I can make that. Then what I'm going to do, reflection in eyes are very, very important because they give something, they give it life. And that eye looks not so full of life right now. So I'm going to I see kind of a highlight in that eye a little bit. So I'm going to give it a highlight there. Well, first that's good right there. And then there's some other eye details that we're going to go back to the hard brush for. Oh, deselect that. Okay, now I can do this. And there's actually some other detail about the eye that I'm going to put in after this. There we go. And the giraffe has these great eyelashes. So let's go and do that. Even the boys have these really big eyelashes. Kind of like camels. You ever seen camels? They've got these big eyelashes. And camels, it's important for them. I'm sure it's important for the giraffes too, but for the camels, it's important because it keeps the sand out of their eyes in the desert. So I'm sure it serves a function for the giraffes too. Yeah, there's more of a, I don't know what that area underneath the eye is there, but I'm going to put that in. And then I'm going to color underneath it. Kind of like lighter, it's like a gray, a dark gray. And they're all details, they take time. It's not just the push of a button. Let's back that up and see how that looks. Oh my, it's kind of weird actually, but I think it needs some more highlight on that. I'm going to remove some of the dark area underneath the eye. Let's see, take away that. Get my eraser out for the first time. That's not too bad. I haven't erased at all. Happy little spots. Yes, yes, happy little spots. All right. So that's, yep, that's the right layer. Let's do some erasing. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I see what's going on here. I think I painted. the color on that layer. Yeah, so there we go. And then this I'll erase. Oh, my eraser opacity is low. That's what's going on. There's so many settings on a computer in Photoshop sometimes to keep track of that every time you want to switch from one thing to the next, if you want to go from one brush to another, you've got to switch the size, you've got to switch the type of brush, you got to switch the opacity, and keep track of all these things. And that can get to be a little bit of a pain. But now why is that? Okay, I've got a mystery to solve here. Those eyelashes are here. But they're either okay, eyelashes. There we go. The fur in the background, the detail for it was going over the top of the eyelash, which didn't work out well. So, and that brightening in the eye needs some more attention. It just looks too dull. So even though it doesn't look too bright in the picture, I'm gonna make an artistic license call, and we're gonna brighten that up a bit. There, oh, that looks a lot better. Just that little touch. All right, and then this over here, we're just going to let's see what's the reference do? Hardly anything. So I got to make this one up. And based on what I did on the other one, which gave us some good information, I'm going to copy that color and then lessen the opacity. We're going to make a rim highlight color there. And then I'm going to lessen the opacity and kind of go over that again and make that just kind of there's that sort of light area in the other eye. And then we're going to draw the pupil, which should be right about here. Can't see it from the reference, but again, artistic license, filling in what's not shown. And let's see, does that work? I can barely see it. Where are we at in the, let's go down there a little bit more. I might have to lighten the background, the other part of the eye so you can see the pupil. Although I will put a spot in this one too, and that's really going to help. So let's lighten that brown just a tad to help us see the eye. Eye shape. Okay. I'm gonna go to the airbrush because that'll be a softer touch. There, it's bringing it up just a little bit. There we go. And some of these spots are kind of bugging me because they're a little bit too pronounced. They're more subtle on the reference, so I'll lean in that direction. Let's pick a lighter brown. All right, let's pick a lighter brown. Yeah, this is highly detailed. There we go. And I want to push back a little bit on the spots. Not make them so dark on the face. On the top of the face in particular. And the fur part that I put in, I want to lighten those as well. Oh, no wonder this wasn't working real well. The opacity was too light. Again, all those different settings. Digital art. Okay, and now going back to the, yeah. Spot fur. Just gonna lighten the opacity on that. Now some of these longer paintings, well, I think most artists would probably go, just do a speed painting. So they take the real time to do the artwork, and then they just speed it up in a video editing program, and then you just see this thing go, and you don't get an idea of the time that it takes to do the finished artwork. So, oh, I talked about doing the line artwork too. So let's do that. So let's I want to make a copy of the inks. Okay, so that's the ink layer. Let's make a copy of that. Duplicate, and I'm gonna lock it so that I can paint on it. And then we're gonna make it like a dark brown. And it'll soften it a bit, and this cartoony giraffe will look a little bit more realistic. Let's see if, oh, my opacity was down again. Okay. All right. So you see how that works? Look at it makes the line artwork fit into the giraffe art more. I'm going to leave those eyes and the eyelashes black because they stand out even in the reference. But look at the difference there. And there's a few artists that I know that do that, and I think it's very, very effective. There we go. So there's our giraffe head. And just as a quick final touch, I'm just going to draw this one today. It's taken long enough. I was thinking about maybe doing different styles of giraffes, but this one took up a good chunk of time, so we'll just do this. But we'll add a little shape of sky in the background. And these are quick and fun to do. You just select a shape and then you select the color for the sky. Something like that. And this works out well because of the coloring of the giraffe against blue really well. Oh, I want to do airbrush. All right, back to the, where's this? Oh, I'm picking the wrong thing here. There we go. So we got our giraffe. And the last thing is to write my name. So check out my illustrations and artwork and ministry and all kinds of information on my website, danletha.com. I gotta get the right brushes. My opacity is 100, but I've got the airbrush. I don't want to sign my name in an airbrush. All right, so own layer. And Letha 2023. There it is. All right. Thanks for watching. Those of you that have stuck all the way through this whole thing, your viewership is much appreciated. Please share my website and my YouTube channel with those that want to learn how to draw and particularly draw from a Christian point of view. I haven't talked a lot about creation type stuff on this particular illustration, but God is our creator and we need to recognize him with all that we do. So, all right. Thanks for watching.